Hi, 511. This is Dr. Keisler, and I wanted to spend a couple of minutes going over our wiki that we created for this semester that is dedicated to the Historical Errors of Reading Research project. So we really haven't done too much on this wiki yet except to sign up for our project. So what I would like to do is show you the new things that I've put on the website and go over the project a little bit with you. So first off, this was the homepage, all right? And if you go to the Historical Errors of Reading Research, you'll see this is the page that has been up that kind of explains the project a bit. So these first three pieces here are for you and they're for everybody, regardless of which group you're in. So there are 6 different groups because there are 6 different eras. And you're all going to make a page for one era. So this comes from your theoretical models text from 514. Most of you should have taken 514 with me. Some, I guess no. Some of you did not. So in any case, this is a chapter that you should read. It gives you kind of a historical perspective on research and reading. So, and then this is the article analysis template. This is what your individual articles will be summarized on, and I'll get to that in a second. And then here is just a brief summary of each article of reading research. So it kind of looks at this article right here that Sears wrote, and it gives a really short, like 1 to 2 paragraph summary on what each era is all about or what characterizes that era. So it would be good for each of you to read because it'll help really guide you in the project in selecting appropriate resources and artifacts and such. So I had mentioned I would be adding some articles. Some of the eras only had one article, and the reason for that is this project needed to be revamped, and so I had pulled off some of the articles that had previously been in it, and so I just kind of got to adding new ones in. So Group A, Group B, Group C, you did not change at all. So those are the same 3 articles. They're great articles that are representative of each of those eras. So those didn't change at all. Starting with Group D, which were the eras that only had 1 or 2 articles in them, I did add some. So you'll see that for the era of information processing, there are 4 articles. For Group E, the era of sociocultural learning, there are 3 articles. And for Group F, there are 4 articles. So essentially what happens is all of these articles need to be read. The way that is sort of best divided up is to have 1 or 2 people read each article. So if you have 6 people in your group, you've got 3 articles. You obviously can double up. Each one of you, as part of this project, is going to turn in your own individual article summary sheet. So that is the sheet that you find up here, your article analysis template, and I will download it to show you what it looks like. Oop. I don't need that sheet. Oh no, don't save. Okay, sorry about that. So you are picking 1 article from your era, and you are going to go ahead and you're going to do the analysis. So this analysis includes what type of research they use, the data collection methods, their results, your evaluation and interpretation of their results. So you're going to just do this for 1 article from your era. So within the group, all of these articles will have been read, and you can all share information from them on your wiki page. So the one thing I wanted to call attention to was Group F. The article that was here, I took off, and so I put these 4 new ones. So not that it wasn't a good article, but it wasn't from the right time frame. So I'm not quite sure why it has been used for so many semesters. Actually, I have a good idea, but I'm not going to share that. Anyway, it's not from the time frame of 1996 to the present, and so since there are so many fantastic articles out there from that time frame, I figured we might as well use one that fits within the actual parameters of that era of research. All right, so that's kind of the page for everybody to use. This is where you're going to find your articles. You're not required to go find any articles other than the ones that are listed here. So if you want to learn more about the research and the type of research and the methods used during that particular era, take a look at the summary sheet and then read. You can, feel free obviously to read more than just your one article to really get a feel for what makes this historical era unique in and of itself. So then for the projects. So when you're on either the home page or you're on this page, you'll see up at the top you've got this menu, right? So projects right here. Unfortunately, they've changed all this. So when I was creating the project, I called it sample. I meant to just make it my sample, but it is actually the entire project. So it is the Historical Eras of Reading Research project. If anybody can figure out how you change that name of a project, I can't, except for deleting it, and I really don't want to delete it because it took me quite a bit of time to assign everybody to a group. So anyway, that is our project, and then you'll see Group A, Group B, Group C, D, E, and F. So these are the groups that you signed up for. So I've created a project page for you. So if I was in Group A, the only page that's been created in your project now is the home page. Let's go look at my sample. So underneath our ridiculously named project sample is an actual sample where I have created what everybody's project will look like. So I suggest that you don't take any information off of this actual page, since I made it up from a mishmash of projects that have been done over the past, and I made up this era of learning. This is not actually a historical era of learning, but I am calling it the era of multimodal learning. So this sample, though, shows you what pages you need to have in your project. So just kind of note also that what the actual titles of these pages are. And so I had last semester this particular one, artifacts that exemplify this era. I had 3 groups that thought this said articles that exemplify this era, and they went and made their project, and they spent a ton of time looking for more articles that they then posted on the page. So that is not what you need to do. It is called artifacts. So everybody will have a home page, and that home page will just be a simple description of the era. Then you'll have artifacts. And so I gave some different examples of things that people have put up as artifacts. So artifacts can be links to pages that describe something significant or a significant characteristic of research and thoughts in reading at this time period. Actual books or publications that are considered seminal texts or seminal pieces from this time period. You could cite legislation. So for example, this one, the person had cited the No Child Left Behind. But these are kind of artifacts or things that imagine if you had to create a time capsule of your era of reading research, what would be things that are representative? People have shown videos that are representative of major themes in the research or outcomes of the research. So artifacts is really pretty wide open. You can put pictures up, you can put, like I said, policy or legislation or videos that show some of the thoughts or a theory that was developed during that time. You can list the books, you can list articles, you can put links to web pages in there. So really anything that you could consider an artifact. Then you will have a page that talks about, see, they kind of also, I don't understand how these pages got arranged, because this is not the way that I created them. But anyway, let's go. Guiding views. Then you'll have some bullet points that describe what are some of the major viewpoints of researchers, and kind of what's the thought in reading and about how people learn to read, and what's important about reading during that time period. So you'll note that people have their names in parentheses next to it. You're all working on this project, as a team, but you're also doing the work individually because you're in remote locations. And so make sure that your contributions to the wiki site have your own stamp or citation so that I know who put this information up. So not only just to give you credit for it, but also if there's a question, I know who, or the group knows who to direct it towards, because during the last couple of weeks of the semester, our discussions in the class and our forums are going to revolve around these projects that you've created. So make sure that you put your name after the things that you put up on the site. So guiding views is exactly what it sounds like. Internal and external conditions that help frame this era. So these are things that are going on in society or in research as a whole. So whether it has to do with methodology or changes in how people did research, or things that are going on in the reading community, things that are going on politically, anything that is either internal or external to education and reading instruction in particular, that you guys believe helped frame that particular era. So you'll see, again, folks are citing. It's good if, or it's essential that you you have citations for the information that you put up here. And so you'll see that you're going to get a lot of information from that Alexander and Fox chapter. That's from your theoretical models text. So that's where folks are primarily getting this from. You also might find it in some of the articles, depending on which era you have. So then key researchers. So this is a good part too. So, if you really wanted to point to some folks whose, it doesn't necessarily have to be folks that were doing work during that time period. Because what you'll find, and especially if you read that summaries piece, let's say like the era of sociocultural learning. Well, Vygotsky was not alive in the late 80s to 90s, but his work is really influential. So he could be considered a key researcher. Kant's work or Dewey's work are really influential in particular eras. They did not live during those time periods, but you could still include them in your description of important thoughts or important thinkers, researchers of that time. And then of course you would want to have the folks who made significant contributions during that time, who were doing the work during that time period. So there are some names that you would consider to be kind of the names of that time. A good a good place for some of you to look for some of this too would be in your theoretical models textbook, because you'll get an idea of who some of those folks are. I mean, take a look at some of the names just on this, right? So Rumelhart would be on there. Certainly G would be significant during the era of sociocultural learning. Anything talking about motivation, you'd obviously have Wigfield and Guthrie's work. So you don't just have to stick to the people that were doing work during that period. You can also refer to, their predecessors from whose work they were drawing upon. But make sure that you're clear in your description on this page of, why you're putting them on. So then, kind of the lasting impact on reading and reading instruction that your historical era left. So each era left its own particular impact or imprint on reading, and so that's what we want to see here. So, what did the type of work that was happening at that time and the thoughts around it, how did it influence reading today, the era that came after it, but kind of what is its lasting or resulting principles. And then we have an extras page. So on this extras page is exactly that. So let's say you found an interesting link or you found an interesting video, but it doesn't quite fit within the parameters of any of those pages. I put an extras piece on there for you to go ahead and put that information on to share. So any kind of extra interesting information that you have. Just some little nuts and bolts here. I have about 30 seconds. When you want to work on your page, on your project, you go to your group, you click on group, and then add page. Okay, so that's how you add pages. And then you put the name of the page you're putting on, and then you hit create, and it will give you that page. And then you can start editing and doing all of the work on there. So I hope, oh, I got 5 seconds. So I hope that this kind of clarifies that assignment, and take a look at the syllabus for the due dates of your group.